Seema Rathi's smile lit up every room she entered. But by the time her name appeared on missing posters across Rajasthan, that smile had become the symbol of a mystery darker than anyone could imagine. What began as the disappearance of a promising young student soon unraveled into a chilling network of deceit, greed, and death, linking doctors, politicians, and an invisible mastermind known only as M. Each clue pulled investigators deeper into India's hidden underworld, where lives were traded like currency and justice was buried beneath power. Seema Rathi was the kind of girl everyone in Alwar admired. Smart, determined, and full of dreams, she had recently been accepted into a well-known journalism program. Her parents often spoke with pride about how she wanted to expose corruption and make a difference in society. But on a humid July evening, everything changed. Seema left her home with her usual backpack, telling her mother she was heading to a study session with classmates. She never returned. When she didn't come home that night, her parents assumed she was staying with a friend. By morning, panic had set in. Her phone was unreachable, and none of her friends had seen her since she left the house. The family rushed to the local police station, but the initial response was slow. Officers suggested she might have eloped, a common assumption that delayed serious investigation. Days turned into weeks with no solid leads. Then a local farmer discovered a torn scarf caught in a barbed wire fence near the old bus stand. Seema's scarf. Her mobile phone was later recovered nearby, its SIM card missing. Rumors began spreading across town. Some said they saw a white SUV near the bus stand that night. Others claimed Seema had been in touch with a placement agency, offering overseas internships. None of it was confirmed. For Seema's parents, each rumor felt like a cruel twist of hope. Posters with her face appeared on every wall, her smile fading under layers of dust and rain. As months passed, her name slowly disappeared from the news cycle, replaced by other stories, other tragedies. But beneath the calm surface of Alwar's everyday life, something sinister was stirring, a hidden current of organized deceit that had claimed Seema as its first known victim. The months following, Seema's disappearance were unsettling for the people of Alwar and neighboring districts. Life seemed to move on, but an uneasy silence lingered. Then, more families began reporting their loved ones missing, young men and women in their 20s all vanishing under similar circumstances. What connected them was striking. Each had recently applied for jobs through an agency calling itself Bright Path Careers. The company promised lucrative overseas positions, especially in Dubai and Singapore, offering free placement assistance and quick visa processing. For middle-class families dreaming of a better life, it sounded like an opportunity too good to miss. Police officers initially treated these disappearances as isolated incidents, but as the list grew longer, the coincidences became too many to ignore. Every missing person had submitted their personal documents, photos, and medical reports to Bright Path Careers before they vanished. When investigators finally decided to inspect the consultancy, they found something bizarre. The office was immaculate but empty, as if no real work had ever been done there. Computers were wiped clean, files missing, and even the nameplate outside had been removed overnight. The employees listed in company records turned out to be fake identities created using forged documents. The discovery sent shockwaves through the local administration. It became evident that this was not a simple case of fraud. Someone had gone to great lengths to erase all evidence. Investigators traced the company's registration details to a rented property in Gurugram, but the landlord claimed the tenants had left months earlier without notice. The trail was vanishing as fast as the people involved. Fear began spreading in nearby towns. Parents warned their children not to trust online job offers, yet deep within the shadows, the same network continued to operate, changing names, shifting locations, and searching for its next unsuspecting victim. The discovery in the Bikaner desert changed everything. A local shepherd searching for a lost camel stumbled upon what he first thought were animal bones half buried in the sand. But as he looked closer, he realized the remains were human. Within hours, the police cordoned off the area, and forensic teams arrived from Jaipur. As they dug through the hot, shifting dunes, more skeletons emerged, one after another, each lying in shallow graves hastily covered. Some still wore fragments of clothing, and among them were personal belongings like watches, earrings, and ID cards. The desert had been hiding something horrific. Forensic experts confirmed that the remains belonged to several missing persons reported over the past year. DNA testing identified Seema Rathi among the victims, her jewelry and dental records matching beyond doubt. The news broke across local and national media, sparking outrage and fear. How could such a crime go unnoticed for so long? The pattern became clear. The victims were all young, educated, and had been lured by the same fake job consultancy. Their disappearance was not random, it was calculated. What puzzled investigators most was the precision of the killings. The bodies showed signs of surgical incisions, suggesting the involvement of someone with medical training. Some skeletons had small drill marks near the ribcage, consistent with organ removal. This horrifying detail pointed to a far more organized and profitable operation than simple murder. The motive was no longer mystery or revenge, it was commerce. As the sun set over the Bikaner sands, the police realized they were standing at the edge of something far larger than a local crime. What they had unearthed was not just a burial site, but a silent testimony to a hidden trade where human lives were harvested, sold, and erased without a trace. The investigation took a chilling turn when detectives uncovered the name of Dr. Karan Deshpande, a well-known surgeon in Jaipur. He was widely respected in the medical community, admired for his skill and his involvement in charity health camps for the poor. To the public, he appeared to be a man of compassion and integrity. But beneath his spotless reputation, a disturbing secret waited to be exposed. A tip from an anonymous source linked his private hospital to several unregistered transplant surgeries. When the police examined hospital records, they discovered inconsistencies in donor information, names that didn't match, missing consent forms, and surgeries carried out under unusual time frames. Digging deeper, investigators realized that the so-called donors were actually the missing individuals connected to the Bright Path Careers Agency. Each victim had been lured with a false promise of employment abroad, only to be taken to remote facilities under the pretext of medical checkups. There they were sedated and operated on without their consent. Their organs, especially kidneys and livers, were extracted and sold to wealthy clients in India and overseas. The victims were later disposed of in rural areas, their bodies buried or burned to hide the evidence. The profits were immense. The money moved through layers of shell companies and offshore accounts, making the operation nearly impossible to trace. Dr. Deshpande's hospital served as the perfect front, clean, accredited, and shielded by his reputation. He continued to perform legitimate surgeries by day, while coordinating illegal transplants behind closed doors. What shocked investigators most was the efficiency of the system. The network had access to forged government documents, fake donor IDs, and corrupt officials willing to approve medical clearances. What had started as a missing person case had now revealed one of the darkest and most organized crimes imaginable: an underground market trading human lives for profit. As investigators continued unraveling the network, it became clear that Dr. Karan Deshpande was merely a visible link in a much larger and more dangerous operation. The money trail led them across several states: Delhi, Gujarat, Maharashtra, and even to small clinics in Nepal. Each discovery revealed a new layer of deceit. Shell companies were registered under different names, often dissolved within months and replaced by new ones. Fake NGOs claiming to provide medical aid were used to transport organs discreetly across borders. Every transaction was carefully hidden behind legal paperwork that seemed genuine at first glance. In the middle of this growing maze stood an elusive figure known only as M. The name appeared repeatedly in coded emails, bank transfers, and offshore documents. M was described as someone with connections deep within politics, law enforcement, and international business. No photograph, no address, no verified identity, just whispers and fear. Those who had once worked for the network either vanished or refused to talk. A former courier found hiding in a small village confessed that M's orders arrived through encrypted messages and that failure to comply meant death. When authorities traced one of the offshore accounts linked to M, they reached a man believed to be his accountant. Before he could be questioned, he was found dead in his apartment, hanging from the ceiling fan. A note was discovered, but experts confirmed it was staged. The writing didn't match his handwriting. It became clear that someone was watching the investigation closely, eliminating anyone who posed a threat. The deeper the police dug, the more they realized that the network's true strength lay not in money or power alone, but in fear. M had built an empire where silence was currency, and betrayal meant a swift, untraceable end. The investigation that had once seemed unstoppable began to lose its momentum as the web of connections widened. When leaked documents surfaced linking several political figures to companies funded by the Trafficking network, chaos erupted. The documents suggested that campaign donations, construction tenders, and even hospital funding had been indirectly financed through money earned from the illegal organ trade. The revelation shocked the public, but within days the news vanished from major media outlets. Channels that had once aired endless debates suddenly shifted focus to trivial stories, as if ordered to forget. Inside the police department, things grew tense. Officers who had been passionately pursuing leads were suddenly transferred to distant postings without explanation. Files crucial to the case disappeared from evidence rooms. Witnesses who had agreed to testify withdrew at the last minute, citing threats to their families. One forensic expert who had uncovered key DNA matches resigned overnight and left the country. The message was clear. This was no longer just a criminal investigation. It had become a war against powerful interests determined to keep their secrets buried. Rumors spread that M was not an individual but a collective of influential people working together under a single alias to protect their operations. No one could prove it, but the way events unfolded made it believable. Each time investigators got close to a breakthrough, something or someone intervened. Court orders were delayed, warrants revoked, and whistleblowers silenced. For the families of the victims, hope turned into despair. They held protests pleading for justice, but their voices were drowned in bureaucracy and fear. The case that had once promised to expose India's darkest criminal network was now collapsing under the weight of corruption and influence. Truth was losing ground, buried beneath layers of power and manipulation. Years passed, and the once explosive case of Seema Rathi and the organ trafficking network faded into silence. The public moved on. Politicians denied involvement, and the official records labeled the investigation as unresolved. Yet for one retired police inspector, Arun Sethi, the story refused to rest. Haunted by memories of the victims and the unanswered questions, he began re-examining the old files in his spare time. What he found reignited the mystery. Among the archived evidence was an encrypted hard drive that had been logged, but never analyzed. Using modern decryption tools, Sethi uncovered hundreds of hidden documents, passports, photographs, and transaction receipts linked to new disappearances that occurred years after the supposed shutdown of the network. The documents pointed to an unexpected name, Mahika Deshpande, the daughter of Dr. Karan Deshpande. She had left India shortly after her father's arrest and was living abroad under a new identity. Records showed her involvement in setting up medical consultancy firms in Southeast Asia, all of which operated under suspiciously familiar business models. It became clear that Mahika had taken control of her father's empire and expanded it beyond India's borders. She had rebuilt the system with new technology, greater security, and an even more powerful list of clients. Sethi prepared to hand his findings to an investigative journalist known for exposing corruption, but before the meeting could take place, he vanished. His home was found undisturbed, his phone destroyed, and his car abandoned near a highway. The only clue was an email automatically sent from his account to the journalist, a single line that read, "Evil doesn't disappear, it adapts." The case remains unsolved. Mahika Deshpande was never found, and reports of missing individuals fitting the same profile continue to emerge. The truth, it seems, still lurks beneath the surface, waiting to be unveiled.